Live NFL trivia every Wednesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge for a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. I've made somewhere in the ballpark of 450 history videos on this channel. We've covered a ton of eras, ranging from the 1920s to as recent as Super Bowl 55. We've covered a ton of teams and a ton of stories. Yes, there are teams that I've talked about more often than others, either because it's easier to access information from those local publications, or because they have a deeper and crazier history, or because they just had a slew of interesting and fascinating stories that I couldn't ignore. But over those 450 videos, I've talked about every team at least once. That is, every team except for one. For whatever reason, I've never done a video on the Houston Texans. They've been around for 2 decades. They've had some good players and some interesting history. I don't know why I've never talked about this team before, but it seems crazy that in the 2 years that I've done history videos, that the only time I've ever mentioned the Texans is in passing, and never as the main subject of the story. However, that changes today. And the reason it changes, you can thank David Culley for that. Because oh my, we need to talk about what just happened on Sunday. For those of you who are not watching this in the immediate aftermath of the game, let me paint a picture and set the scene for you. It's September 19th, 2021, and the Houston Texans are traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns in this Week 2 matchup. If Houston wins this game, then they shock just about everyone by starting 2-0. They're more than double-digit underdogs, and no one's giving them a chance. Beating the Jacksonville Jaguars at home in Week 1, a team that had lost 15 straight, is one thing. But beating the Cleveland Browns, a good team that made the postseason the year before and just took the 2-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs to the wire on the road, that would be one heck of a statement win right there. And early on, the Texans are doing well. After Cleveland scores a touchdown on their first drive of the game thanks to a muff punt, Houston drives right down the field. Tyrod Taylor, coming off of an insanely productive Week 1 performance against Jacksonville, picks up right where he left off and goes 6 for 6, with a drive ending in a 22-yard touchdown pass on a screen to Phillip Lindsay. Both teams exchange touchdowns on their opening drives, setting the tone for what could be a good contest as we're tied at 7 apiece. Then Houston's defense makes a big play when after the Browns get into Texan territory, Donovan Peoples-Jones fumbles the ball, with Houston recovering. Now it's time to see if Houston can do anything to truly silence this Cleveland crowd and take the lead. Faced with the 3rd and 15 situation following a false start penalty and a busted play to Brandon Cooks, Taylor drops back and hits Cooks again, this time for a 13-yard gain. It's not enough for the first down, but there is a penalty on the field. Takk McKinley was offside for Cleveland, and this gives the Texans a very interesting dilemma. They can take the penalty, take the 5 yards, and try again on 3rd and 10, or they can decline the penalty and go for it in Cleveland territory on 4th and 2. It's a really interesting decision that I'm not sure there's a wrong answer to. The odds that you convert 3rd and 10 are less than 4th and 2, but at least with 3rd and 10, if it goes wrong, you can punt the ball away and not give it to Cleveland at midfield. Culley decides to decline the penalty, bringing up 4th down in enemy territory. Alright, Culley's feeling bold. It's only the 2nd quarter, but he likes the way his offense is moving, he likes the way Taylor is throwing the ball, and he's willing to leave the offense out there to go for it. The first-year coach is playing with nothing to lose and is trusting the analytics. With that, let's see what he's got lined up for this 4th down play. Wait, why are you punting the football? Why are you punting the football? Why are you punting the foot?
Don't want to make a mistake in 3rd and long. Has to be a part of Culley's thinking, but I would kind of like to have another shot.
This kick will reach the end zone for the touchback.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something that looked bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something that looked awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work, and sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of David Culley. He has quite the resume to the point where I'm not sure it's entirely fair to criticize him. He was the same genius wide receivers coach on the Kansas City Chiefs in 2014, when their wide receivers combined to score 0 touchdowns. He was the same genius quarterbacks coach on the Buffalo Bills in 2018 that led a staff that threw 13 touchdowns and 23 interceptions. Having a 1-to-2 touchdowns to interception ratio in the year of our Lord 1978 would have been bad, let alone 2018. And he was the same genius passing game coordinator on the Baltimore Ravens in 2020 that had a passing attack that finished dead last in passing yards. Somehow, he got a head coaching job. And in his 2nd game, he does this. Heck of an early impression. So with that being said, let's take a look at why declining a penalty to bring up 4th down, only to punt the ball away on 4th down, is a horrible idea. And before I go any further, if this sounds familiar, that's because this has happened before. I didn't think a team would be stupid enough to do it again, because just everything behind it makes no sense whatsoever. I did a Dumb Decisions episode on this a while back with the Philadelphia Eagles and their head coach Rich Kotite, in a 1994 game against the Atlanta Falcons, when Kotite, faced with either 3rd and 10 or 4th and 1 at midfield, decided to decline the penalty, make it 4th and 1, then take a timeout, and then punt the ball away, essentially giving the Falcons the ball back for free. Unsurprisingly, the Eagles lost that game, and they completely collapsed down the stretch. If you want to learn more about that insane situation, then click the card in the upper right corner. Now, do I think what Culley did was worse than what Kotite did? In all honesty, does it really matter? That's like asking whether I think dying via a falling vending machine or a falling boulder is my preferred way of going out. They're both absolutely terrible options that even if you do have an opinion on which one would be better, you're screwed either way. Kotite probably gets the edge because it was the second half and he burned a timeout, but then again, he wasn't in opponent territory like Culley was. Regardless, this was a horrible decision that when you put it in the appropriate context, somehow gets even worse. 1 month ago, after a preseason game against the Green Bay Packers, Culley talked about his style on 4th down and his aggression in those situations. And he made a vow to the fans, to his players, and to everyone that he was going to be more aggressive and was going to trust his offense in those situations. As he said after that game, anytime we were down across the 50 and we've got an opportunity to be able to stay on the field in that particular situation, we're going to put it on our out front people and we're going to give them the opportunity to get the first down in those situations. Translation, if we're in opponent territory and we have a chance to go for it, we're going to. And then with the Texans in Cleveland territory, Culley goes ahead and does this. Why? How is any player going to take anything you have to say seriously again when you're saying this to the presses and your team, and then 1 month later, making a decision that by all accounts makes no sense whatsoever and completely contradicts this? Again, if you've seen this series before, I like to analyze things a lot from a risk-reward standpoint. If you accept the penalty and take the 3rd and 10, the risk is that it's still a long ways to go for the first down and you're probably not going to get it. But at least if you don't, you can punt it away and pin Cleveland deep, giving your defense good starting field position. If you decline the penalty and take the 4th and 2, the risk is that if you don't get it, Cleveland gets the ball with fantastic starting field position. But getting 2 yards is way more manageable, especially with your offense playing well. But there is literally no reward for declining the penalty on 4th and 2 and then punting it. Unless you get a muff, which the odds of that happening, especially on a play like that where Cleveland isn't even thinking about a return, your best case scenario, if everything goes right, is that the other team gets the ball. There is nothing good about this situation, and I legitimately didn't think any coach would be dumb enough to pull a Rich Kotite and emulate his style. But here we are. And I think what makes this even worse is that maybe you could chalk this up to the analytics guy reading the chart wrong or some other miscommunication, but I can't even do that here. This was all David Culley's doing. Earlier, Culley spoke some more about his 4th down strategy, and he said that he doesn't believe in analytics. He said, I know analytics has those things out there, and we do have access to all that, but I'm old school in a way. If I'm not feeling it, we're not doing it, regardless of what the chart says. Now on its own, that quote is perfectly fine. Sometimes the numbers do lie, and sometimes I trust my gut more than the analytics. But now, apply that quote about going for it on 4th down and not trusting the analytics to what Culley decided to do here. He felt that this entire 4th down fiasco was the right thing to do. I'm not saying always listen to the analytics, but I guarantee you there is not a single analytic out there that would have advocated for Culley declining a penalty to bring up 4th and 2 and then proceed to punt the ball away. Fortunately, we did get a quote after the game about this bizarre situation, and Culley's answer still made no sense whatsoever. Culley said that nothing went wrong, and that everything went according to plan. He wanted to play the field position game, and felt that taking the punt and the field position was better than trying to do something on 3rd down. And this makes no sense in so many ways. First off, I understand the logic to an extent if we're talking about 3rd and 30 versus 4th and 2. There's actually some validity in that if that's the case. But we're talking a difference of 8 yards. And better yet, most teams intentionally take delayed game penalties when they're in opponent territory because the odds of avoiding a touchback increase significantly. If the Texans went for it on 3rd and 10 and didn't get it, would it have really made a difference if they were punting on their own 43 versus Cleveland's 49? Heck, it might have been even better. Plus, what Culley was saying by doing this was that he had no faith in his quarterback, even though his quarterback had completed 100% of his passes. That is a good message to send to the team. And then, he followed up on that when someone asked him about whether or not the team should have tried a 3rd down play, almost as if that possibility never even crossed his mind. He said, we could have done that, and looking at it again, I'll just have to look at the situation and see what I can do next time. Wow. I'm speechless. Genuinely speechless. A reporter just blew Culley's mind by proposing the absolutely bold strategy of trying to call a play on 3rd down, and if you don't get it, you punt it away. Such a revolutionary idea. Looking back on it, this might be worse than Kotite, just because at least Kotite didn't try to defend this decision in the aftermath, although Randall Cunningham tried his best to defend him. Culley, on the other hand, is doubling down. He made it seem like he would do this again in a heartbeat. He made it seem like he would be more than willing to replicate what has to be, without a doubt, one of the stupidest things I've ever seen take place in a football game. And for him to do that, well, that's just embarrassing. So what do we learn from all this? I think we can keep this one fairly simple. Don't try to emulate Rich Kotite. If you're going to emulate a coach and his strategies, emulate one that isn't remembered in infamy. Bill Belichick, Don Shula, Tom Landry, Andy Reid, literally anyone not named Rich Kotite. When he tried this same thing roughly 3 decades before, it backfired in spectacular fashion, and predictably so. And it was so bad that I genuinely never thought we would see it again. But thank you, David Culley, for proving me wrong. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gamer 9 merchandise by going to jg9shop.com, and be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot, and be sure to check out Twitch every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL Trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JaguarGamer9, and subscribe to 60-second NFL History on YouTube. To see highlight videos of players throughout the history of the NFL, subscribe to JG9 Highlights. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters who help get the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.